further ado, I will introduce our first speaker. Our first speaker is Professor Augustine Odili, and Professor Augustine Odili will be taking us on the burden of hypertension in Nigeria. Professor Augustine Odili is a professor of cardiovascular medicine, as well as a consultant cardiologist. He is the president of Nigeria Cardiac Society and Society for Public Health and Social Development. He serves the International Society of Hypertension as deputy chair of the Research and Education Committee. He is a visiting Bernard Lund Scholar in cardiovascular health at Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health. Boston, USA, graduate medical. Professor Augustine is an executive and a member of the editorial board of a number of local and international journals. I'm going to be a doctor too. Now you join them. Please, please, who is speaking? Are you talking to me? If not, please mute yourself. Thank you so much. So as I was saying that Professor Austin is an executive editor at the Journal of Hypertension and a member of editorial board of the number of local and international journals with high impact factor. He is, Professor Austin's research interest is focused on hypertension epidemiology and strategies for hypertension control in low resource settings. He has been the principal investigator for large-scale study, including the Removing the Mask on Hypertension, Nigeria Population Research on Environment, Gene and Health, and Nigeria Source Survey. He is a member of a number of international research consortia, including the International Database on Home Blood Pressure in relation to cardiovascular outcomes, the International Database on the Ambulatory Blood Pressure in relation to cardiovascular outcome, and the NCD Risk Factor Collaboration. He serves as a member of various technical committees on a non-communicable diseases for the Federal Ministry of Health, and was a consultant to the World Health Organization, WHO, for the development of the national guidelines for the management of hypertension in Nigeria. His research works has been cited for over 5,300 times with a H index of 19 and I index of 36. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please join me as we welcome Professor Augustine Odili. And remember, he will be taking us on the burden of hypertension in Nigeria. You're welcome, Prof, and you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Edith, for your kind introduction. He has already introduced me. So we will be taking the burden of hypertension in Nigeria, but I'll be sharing the lessons we learned from an international, nationwide survey on hypertension, which we call REMA study. REMA stands for Removing the Mask on Hypertension. In the course of the presentation, you get to see the, oh, it's not moving. What's happening to this slide? Okay, just to give us a background of what non-communicable diseases are, they are medical conditions or diseases that are not caused by infectious agents. So these are diseases that last for long periods of time and they progress slowly. Examples of non-communicable diseases are hypertension, stroke, cancers, diabetes, chronic kidney disease, and chronic obstructive airway diseases. I just want to use this to lay a bit of an emphasis on what non-communicable diseases is doing globally. For us, we talk about Africa as being under the double burden of diseases, i.e., while we are still battling with non-communicable diseases, while we are still battling with communicable diseases, for example, HIV, malaria, TB, non-communicable diseases have also become a major threat. So I always put up this image of Africa and being under the double burden of disease. So this woman typifies Africa, carrying a very big burden on the back. So if you imagine that this burden is malaria, TB, HIV, and then on her legs are also tied another one that could not allow her to move an inch. So if you compare all the regions of the world, you find out that Africa is really under a major burden of diseases that include both communicable and non-communicable diseases. So why did we engage in this study we call REMA? That's the removing the mask on hypertension. What was our rationale for doing that? There was really no accurate data on hypertension in Nigeria because the last nationwide survey on hypertension was published by the Federal Ministry of Health in 1997. And at that time, definition of hypertension was taken to be 160, blood pressure that is above 160 over 195. That's 160 systolic and 95 diastolic. So as at that time, the data was actually obsolete. WHO developed a standard way of conducting the survey they call stepwise survey, so as to have a global standard, and then so that it will also be easy to compare the results you have in your own country with the other countries of the world. So with funding from Tertiary Education Trust Fund, TED Fund, we conducted the survey using the STEPS methodology in 6 states of Nigeria, one in each of the 6 geopolitical zones of the country. I have to put this slide to help us appreciate. I'm sure that people attending this webinar are all from different parts of the country. So you could relate with any part of the country where you are from. We went and in each of the geopolitical zones, we took 1 state, and in each of those states, we took an urban and a rural area. So you could see each of these places where we went to conduct the survey all around the country. So what were our results? This study was published, I think, in 2021 in Global Heart. But there are 4 key aspects of that result that I would want to share with you. You need to understand the terminology so that you'll be able to relate with the discussion we are having at the moment. So when you talk about prevalence of hypertension, you mean number of individuals who have hypertension out of the total number of people in the population. So you put everybody who has hypertension in the population and you divide it by the total number of people in the population. Let me say that this was a study we did in people who are 18 years and above. So it's good that you note that. But there is one very important thing about hypertension. People who suffer from hypertension are not aware that they are hypertensive. They don't know because hypertension does not give any symptom. If you are attending this meeting today and there is anything you want to go with, please go with the fact that hypertension does not cause any symptom to the sufferers. Greater percentage of people who suffer from hypertension has no symptom. That was why many years ago, this term silent killer was created, because as it's killing you, it's damaging your organs, you will not know about it. There are a few individuals who may have headache, difficulty in concentration when their blood pressure is high, but greater percentage of individuals have no symptom whatsoever. So because of that, we have a terminology we call awareness of hypertension. And what that stands for is number of individuals who have hypertension and are aware that they have hypertension. Because so many people have hypertension, but they are not aware. So when you say, what is the percentage of awareness of hypertension? It means number of people who are hypertensive and they are aware that they are hypertensive. Then you have another group, the rate of treatment. Now, this is number of hypertensive individuals who are receiving treatment for hypertension. It is one thing for somebody to be hypertensive. It is another for the person to be aware that he's hypertensive. And then it is another for the person to be taking treatment that, for hypertension. And then the final thing I want you to learn about is control. Now, control stands for the number of hypertensive patients who are receiving treatment and their blood pressure is below the threshold. And what is the threshold? 140/90. Because there are so many people who are hypertensive, they are receiving treatment for hypertension, yet their blood pressure is not under control. Their blood pressure is not below the threshold. So whenever we are talking about the burden of hypertension, it's important that you know what is the prevalence of hypertension, what is the awareness of hypertension, what is treatment for hypertension, and what is control for hypertension. So this graph gives us the picture of what we have in the whole country. And you can situate yourself where you belong to. You'll find out that it's about the same everywhere with very little differences between the 6 geopolitical zones. But you could see from here that the prevalence of hypertension, if you take the average, is about 38% in the whole country. So we have overall. So you can now look at overall at this end. You would see that the prevalence of hypertension is about 38%. Then just a little less than 60% of people who are hypertensive are aware that they are hypertensive. And then just about 30%, that is 1/3 of those who are hypertensive, are receiving treatment for hypertension. And then out of this, just about less than 30%, just about 25% of them have their blood pressure under control. So you can also relate this to different parts of the country, but we just discussed the overall, putting all these things together for the whole country. So I just want us to look at this, what we call unmet needs in hypertension care. So because of what we have explained about awareness, treatment, and control of hypertension, we now have a metric with which we judge the number of unmet needs at every level. So if you interact with this, looking at everybody who is hypertensive, you put it as 100%. Now you ask yourself, of this number of people who are hypertensive, how many of them have ever screened for hypertension anywhere? Some people have been screened for hypertension, but they were never really diagnosed of being hypertensive. So there's also a little bit difference, because somebody could be passing through the market. For example, today is World Hypertension Day. There are a lot of screening activities going on here and there. And somebody has been screened for hypertension. That means the person's blood pressure is measured. So of all the hypertensive people in Nigeria, just about, about 86% of them have ever had their blood pressure measured. So there is 14.2% gap of people who are lost. They have never been screened for hypertension. Now, of this number, again, the number of people who have really been diagnosed are, you have about 60-something%. So again, what is the loss between the people who have been screened to people who have diagnosed? About 35%. Now, out of the people who are diagnosed, how many of them are really being treated? Then again, you can see another loss of 36%. And then out of the people who are being treated, see where the main thing is, because at the end of the day, the most important thing is your blood pressure under control. The reason we are really concerned about this is that when people's blood pressure are under control, it helps them to run away from complications of hypertension such as stroke, heart failure, kidney failure, and destruction of practically all the organs in the body. So there is the big question. Where do you belong along this line? Are you one of those who measure their blood pressure by random, you were screened, but you really never followed up to be diagnosed? Are you one of those that have been diagnosed, but you are not receiving treatment, apparently because you are not having any symptom? Are you one of those who is receiving treatment, but you are not being treated properly? So, you know that your blood pressure is not under control. So you need to ask yourself, where will I, put my relations? My mother, my father, has my mother, my father, my wife, my husband been screened? If my mother, my husband, my father has been screened, has he been diagnosed? If he has been diagnosed, is he really being properly treated? If he's being properly treated, is his blood pressure under good control? I don't want to end this meeting just talking about the diagnosis of blood pressure we do in the clinic. I want to talk about out of clinic blood pressure because of some new, what I will call types of hypertension that we have. So quickly, I'm going to mention a few things about out of clinic blood pressure. You either use home blood pressure monitoring or ambulatory blood pressure monitoring. The difference is that home blood pressure monitoring, many people are used to it. You have a home blood pressure monitor in your house. You use it to measure your blood pressure. But you also have an ambulatory blood pressure monitoring where you put on a monitor and you can go about your business for the day. If you are a doctor, you are a lawyer, you can put on the machine and go to the court, for example. But home blood pressure monitor, you just measure your blood pressure at home in the morning. Usually we advise 2 times measurement. You measure in the morning and then you measure in the evening. So, but just because we are this meeting is more or less for public health education, it's important that we emphasize that somebody who is measuring his blood pressure at home should pay attention to some of the standards that we use in the clinic. For example, you must ensure that the chair you are sitting down with has a backrest. You must use validated monitors. What do we mean by validated monitors? Monitors that are proven to give you accurate measurements. So if you want to get the monitors that are validated, you go to this website, www.stridebp.org. Because some of the monitors, especially in our country, you find out that there are a lot of monitors that are not validated and they come into the country, people buy them, but they are not validated. So we advise people to use this website to find out if the monitor you want to buy is validated or not. And of course, to be sure that the cuff you are using is the appropriate size, because if you are big, but you are using a small size cuff, it will increase your blood pressure. Make sure that your legs are well rested on the floor. Don't allow your legs to be dangling. And please, you should not be talking. It's important that I should emphasize that blood pressure values measured at home are to be noted that they are lower than the blood pressure values that we measure in the clinic. Now, because we can now get blood pressure in the clinics and we can get blood pressure outside the clinic, it has helped us to classify, have another type of hypertension that is important that I just mentioned briefly to you. So this is, I don't want you to look at it. It's not that technical. I'm going to just explain it and, I hope you'll be able to pick it. Now, some people may have hypertension in the clinic, but if you measure let's start with true normotension, that is the green box. If you look at this, on the x-axis, you see office blood pressure, or what we call the clinic blood pressure, is increasing. And then on the y-axis is out of office or home blood pressure. You can use home blood pressure on the y-axis. So the home blood pressure has its own threshold, what you use to judge whether this person has hypertension or not. So it's not the same threshold we use for clinic blood pressure. So for somebody whose blood pressure is normal at home and also normal in the clinic, that is the person who has true normotention. For somebody whose blood pressure is high in the clinic but normal at home, that is the person who has white coat hypertension. For somebody whose blood pressure is normal in the clinic but high at home, that is the person who has what we call max hypertension. We are more interested in this max hypertension because many times they are not detected. Now, for somebody who has sustained hypertension is somebody who has hypertension in the clinic and hypertension outside the clinic. So this is true normotention, normal in the clinic and normal at home. Then the next thing is white coat hypertension, hypertensive in the clinic and normal at home. Then the next is the max hypertension, normal in clinic and hypertensive at home. Then the last one is sustained hypertension, hypertensive in the clinic and hypertensive at home. Now, if you look at this, we carefully use different color codes to give you really the impression that the one that everybody should look out for is that you have true normotention. That is the green one. White coat hypertension, yes, may not really be so much of a problem because that is why sometimes we want people to get the values of what their blood pressure is at home. But we are worried about this max hypertension, those people who have normal blood pressure in the clinic, but when they measure their blood pressure at home is within the hypertensive range. And then those who have sustained hypertension, which is hypertension both ways. That's why you see the color code. The worst situation is sustained hypertension, but this max hypertension is very close to sustained hypertension. So what did we find in, why are we interested in this max hypertension? We have discovered that the same way we have what we call cardiovascular events, for example, heart attack, stroke, kidney failure, heart failure, the same way that these things are associated with sustained hypertension, that is this last graph, the same way that max hypertension predispose people to also cardiovascular events. I don't want to go into the technicalities of explaining this graph, but if you can understand it, just look at it to find out that incidence of cardiovascular events increases from normotension, true normotension, to white coat hypertension, to max hypertension, to hypertension, that's sustained hypertension. But why we are not so much worried about white coat hypertension is that averagely people are discovered, people with white coat hypertension are discovered because they go to the clinic and they are discovered to have hypertension. So the likelihood is that somebody who has white coat hypertension receives some treatment. If anything, the only problem with having white coat hypertension is that some people may be overtreated. But the problem with max hypertension is that the average sufferer is not aware that he has max hypertension. So what did we find out during that REMA study? Because during the REMA study, we didn't just measure people's blood pressure in the clinic, we also measured their blood pressure in their houses. We measured blood pressure of people in the morning and the evening. They actually measured those blood pressure themselves. And we got this in from about 933 participants from these places that I mentioned in the country, those places from the 6 geopolitical zones. That is where we got these readings that we used to check the number of Nigerians who have max hypertension. And this was what we saw. We discovered that, out of people who were found to have their blood pressure in the clinic, and they were told that their blood pressure is normal, about 13% of them still have, max hypertension. So, and that actually is worrisome. We looked at it from, we divided the thing between men and women. So you could see that about 13% of people who have clinic normotension are actually, they have max hypertension. And we divided the people who, yes, they are attending the clinic and they are not receiving treatment. So their blood pressure was measured in the clinic, but they are not receiving treatment. So you find out that about 27% of them have max hypertension. But among people who are receiving treatment, so when they go to the hospital, you measure their blood pressure and their blood pressure is normal based on the fact that they are taking drugs. But still about 12% of them still have max hypertension. I don't want to bore you with this, but this is just to tell us what are the kind of things that make us to suspect the people who may have max hypertension. And we discovered that those who have increasing age, those whose blood pressure are, higher in the clinic, and those who are diabetic, this is random blood sugar. So we have a lot of people who are diabetic and they have max hypertension. So we try to compare Nigerian with a reference population, and we discovered that actually what we found out in Nigeria is about the same thing that we found out when we compared our result with people from, Southern America, from UK, from America. So we decided to check among 222 diabetic Nigerians, how many of them have this max hypertension. But in this study, we used the 24-hour ambulatory blood pressure. Remember that I told you that there are two ways you can study this max hypertension, either using the home blood pressure monitors or you use the ambulatory blood pressure monitor. So we use the ambulatory blood pressure monitor to study the number of these 222 diabetic Nigerians that have max hypertension. And then here we found out that about 42% of diabetic Nigerians who are said to have normal blood pressure in the clinic, that these people have max hypertension. So I just want to end it here so that at the time when we'll be having discussions, we can now look at some of the issues that we have raised. Remember that we tried to summarize, hypertension and its burden. And in this meeting, I tried to point out the fact that a lot of people may be hypertensive, but they are not aware that they are hypertensive. Even among those who are aware, a lot of them are not receiving treatment. And among those who are receiving treatment, a lot of them do not have their blood pressure under control. And then I pointed out another thing that is very important, another phenomenon of max hypertension. And we said that these are people who may or may not be receiving treatment. You check their blood pressure at home. You check their blood pressure in the clinic. It is within normal. But when you check their blood pressure at home, their blood pressure is within hypertensive range. And we have also studied this thing around the country, and we also noted that there are a lot of people in Nigeria who also have max hypertension. And we found out that more elderly people, those whose clinic blood pressure are higher than, like clinic blood pressure around 135, that the possibility that they may have max hypertension. And then those who have diabetes. So because of that, we have also studied max hypertension among diabetic Nigerians, and we discovered that almost 40% of diabetic Nigerians who have their blood pressure in the clinic is said to be normal, yet when you go to the check their blood pressure at home, you discover it is not normal. So on this note, I want to end it, and I'll be willing to receive questions at the appropriate time. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Augustine, for this eye-opening and educative presentation you have just given. Many thanks. Please, I want us to remember that we will be allowed to ask questions by the after our last speaker. So, Prof, please stay with us. Questions, contributions will be coming immediately after our next speaker. Once again, thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. Our second speaker is Professor Elijah Sokumba, and Prof will be taking us on the management of hypertension using natural products. Professor Sokumba is a professor of pharmacology, and he is director of BDCP, and BDCP stands for Bioresources Development and Conservation Program, Abuja. Professor Sokumba, you are very much welcome, and you have the floor.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to
Good evening.
welcome us to today's program to mark the World Hypertension Day. Mine is going to be a very brief presentation, just to highlight some of the natural products or medicinal plants that have shown promise in the management of hypertension. And some of these have been marketed for use to manage hypertension. Also, some of these medicinal plants have been studied both in laboratory animals, and also some of them have undergone clinical studies. So I just have a few of them that are very common to us, and would like to draw attention to their usefulness or beneficial effects in the management of hypertension. Next slide, please. So the medicinal plants have been widely used in the management of hypertension due to their various pharmacological properties, and they often offer complementary or alternative options to conventional antihypertensive drugs. Some of these plants produce their beneficial effects in various ways. For example, most of the ones that have undergone studies typically exhibit one or more of the following actions, such as vasodilatation, diuretic effect, antioxidant property, and inhibition of an enzyme that we call angiotensin conversion enzyme. Some of them also act through blocking of calcium ion channels, and others deplete neurotransmitter substances from some neuronal pathways that have significant effect on hypertension, such as the sympathetic system. So these are the general mechanisms by which these medicinal plants produce their observed beneficial effects. The first example is garlic, which is a commonly used spice. The botanical name is Allium sativum. And several studies have shown that garlic inhibits angiotensin converting enzyme, and also increases nitric oxide, leading to vasodilation. Somebody is asking for the second slide or what? I don't understand. So no, can you move back, please? So the garlic also has antioxidant effects due to antioxidant effects and reduce oxidative stress. So the net effect observed with the use of garlic in the management of hypertension is vasodilatory and hypotensive and lipid-lowering effects. Of course, as with every medication, there are bound to be side effects, which may not be common to everybody, but some individuals may experience such side effects. And with garlic, the side effects may include gastrointestinal discomfort, and also they are used with other medications like anticoagulants can lead to excessive bleeding. Next slide. The next one is another common plant called hibiscus sabdariva. That is the botanical name. It also acts as a natural angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitor. Maybe I should say something about this angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitor. There are quite a number of drugs that are currently in use that in the management of hypertension that exhibit this property. Drugs like naloxone. These are conventional drugs that are used in the management of hypertension. And some of these medicinal plants have been found to exhibit similar activity. The angiotensin converting enzyme is an enzyme that that converts angiotensin 1 to angiotensin 2. I don't want to go too technical, but what happens is when the blood pressure drops, the kidney releases renaissance Reni, which and Reni converts angiotensinogen to angiotensin 1. The angiotensinogen is mobilized from the liver, and that angiotensin 1 is normally converted to angiotensin 2. So what these angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitors do is to prevent the conversion of angiotensin 1 to angiotensin 2. Angiotensin 2 is a potent vasoconstrictor, and therefore increases blood pressure. So if the formation of angiotensin 2 is inhibited, then the beneficial effects of these plants will be observed, and it will lead to a lowering of blood pressure. Hibiscus also contains compounds like anthocyanins, beta-carotene, and other compounds with antioxidant and vasodilatory properties. You also have diuretic effects.
Please, 1 minute.
So I talked to me
before I left. Mr. Ejike and any other person that the mic is on, please mute yourself. Mr. Ejike, please mute yourself, please.
I'm surprised. So the hibiscus also have a diuretic effect and helps to increase the excretion of sodium and water, so that to reduce the blood volume and lead to lowering of blood pressure. So the actions observed with hibiscus include lowering of systolic and diastolic blood pressure. And this extract is the extract of this plant is widely consumed within the community. The problem is the uncontrolled consumption can lead to potential hypotension when taken in very high doses. So that is for those who take this extract or the tea of this plant. That is an area that should be taken note of. Can you please tell Mr. Ejike to block his line? Next slide.
Yes, he just does. Thank you, Prof.
Next slide.
Mrs. Temple, are you there? Next slide, please.
This next slide is olive leaf, and the botanical name is Olea europea. It exhibits its blood pressure lowering effect through calcium channel blockade. It also has some activity on angiotensin converting enzyme. It inhibits the enzyme so that that prevents the conversion of angiotensin 1 to angiotensin 2. It also has antioxidant and anti-inflammatory actions. And the net activity observed after consumption of this, the extract of this plant is lowering of blood pressure and also cardiovascular protective effect. These have been identified in some studies. The side effects observed or reported include mild gastrointestinal disturbances, and sometimes patients experience headache. Next slide, please. This plant is called Rauwolfia serpentina. The common name is Indian snakeroot. It acts by depleting the neuronal terminals of the sympathetic nerves of their neurotransmitter content. And that is just like blocking the sympathetic system. So that the net effect is lowering of blood pressure. And the drug also has a central nervous system depressant property. In fact, one of the serious effects of Rauwolfia is mental depression. Next slide. This is celery apion. It's another plant that has a diuretic effect. It also inhibits calcium channels, and it's rich in phytochemical compounds like phthalates, which are capable of relaxing arterial walls. So the net effect is observed, the overall effect observed with this after consumption of this plant is vasodilation, reduce vascular resistance. Some of the side effects associated with this plant include allergic reactions. Next slide, please. This is another common medicinal plant, Camellia sinensis, green tea. The common name is green tea, and it contains catechins, which have antioxidant properties. It also improves endothelial function and has a mild angiotensin converting enzyme inhibition. The net effect observed with the use of this plant includes improvement in vascular tone, and that reduces blood pressure over time. The common observed side effects include inability to fall asleep easily, gastrointestinal irritation due to the caffeine content of this plant. Next slide, please. This is a summary of the plants that I have just a summary table of the plants I have just highlighted. Their pharmacological actions and their mechanisms of action are all indicated on the table. Next slide. So in conclusion, many medicinal plants demonstrate effective antihypertensive properties through diverse mechanisms. While they are generally well tolerated, they can have side effects and interact with conventional drugs. So their use should be monitored, especially in patients on multiple therapies. So that is just the brief presentation I have, and it's meant to highlight some of the products we are marketing as in our own organization, like hibiscus. We market hibiscus as Bisap tea, and we also market green tea along with Ganoderma lucidium. So these are just examples of medicinal plants that we have have been worked on and shown some beneficial effects in the management of hypertension. Thank you for your attention.
Many thanks, Prof, for such informative and educative presentation you have given us. So thank you once again. Thank you so much. Please, this is time for question and answer, both from the first speaker and also the second speaker. If you would want to get the presentation, please drop your email such that it will be sent to you. Okay, please, if you have a contribution to what both from the first speaker and the second speaker or question, this is time for you. And if you have a question or you want to make a contribution, you can indicate by raising your hand so that you will be allowed to ask your question, or you can drop your question in the chat box and we will read it out. Okay, I just noticed that someone with TechnoSpark 7 without name just raised hand. Please, you can unmute yourself and
Yes.
ask your question.
Okay, thank you. My question goes to Professor Augustine. He talked about, in his presentation, it said the sample size was 900 plus participants. So I'm wondering if that size is enough to give a good confidence interval to the study to draw up a conclusion, if 900 plus participants is enough to draw up a conclusion, considering the population of Nigeria. And the presentation on medicinal plants is good. Most times we tell patients that, oh, they can't take herb-based because it's not quantified. We don't know the mechanism of action. I want to thank Prof for giving us an outlay of the beneficial effects, both as vasodilators, diuretics, and ACE inhibitors, and even calcium channel blockers. But what quantity of these properties are in those drugs, and how soon do they act on this, on the heart and on the kidneys compared to the orthodox drugs? When you carried out a comparative analysis of orthodox drugs and these new medicinal plants, how fast their mechanism of action, how fast do they work, and how effective are they in the quantity? Thank you.
All right, thank you. Professor Augustine, please.
Okay, thank you very much for your question. Yes, for the subsection, the part of the study that has to evaluate max hypertension, we did that in 933 people, but the whole sample size for the whole country was about either 4,000, I can't remember exactly, 4,000 plus. But the number of people we could get to measure their blood pressure at home for at least 1 week. And each of these people will measure 2 times in the morning, 2 times in the evening. And we have to do that all around the country, both in urban and the rural area. You can agree with me that it was not a joke. Yes, the 933 was still powered enough to answer the question we wanted. That's for max hypertension. But for the other, other type of hypertension that we reported, the sample size was about 4,000 plus. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I hope your question is answered. Okay, moving. Mr. Ayo, please, your hand is up. Please ask your question.
Thank you very much. The first question is to the first speaker, because we believe that when you are measuring on the same person using maybe the same instrument, you should have the same result. So what we need to know is what are the factors causing the difference between home measurement of blood pressure and clinic measurement, and how can we bring them closer? I'm a scientist, but I'm not a medical doctor. But we measure things, whether on plant or human beings, or we expect them, if we are using the same instrument, to be as close as possible. The standard deviation between them should be negligible, or the coefficient of variation. The second question is to the second presenter. The dosage for these plants is the problem, or remains the problem. And we believe that we believe that dosage should be an aspect of presentation that will be helpful to us. Secondly, the Nigerian, either Yoruba, Igbo, or Hausa names of these plants will be very useful to the listeners if they can be provided. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ayo, for your question. Please, first presenter. Did you get his question?
Yes, I did. Thank you very much, Mr. Ayo, for asking the question. It shows that you were listening attentively. Actually, the thing about human physiology, is a bit of a complicated thing. It's not as straightforward as, the other type of systems. If you measure somebody's blood pressure, 100 times, you still get many different types of readings. There are many factors that affect it. Even the ones you measure in the clinic, the measurements by the nurses are usually different by the measurement by the doctors. There are a lot of factors that determine blood pressure at every point in time. And those factors may not be, there are some that may be related to the instrument, but most of the time, the sympathetic discharge between the individual, when you talk of sympathetic discharge, these are, hormones that are released when you are afraid or you are worried, or, so those hormones are released and it affects people. I will tell you something. When somebody is referred to see me as a cardiologist, and the person may travel from, I practice in University of Abuja Teaching Hospital, and the person travels from maybe southeast or southwest or from the north to come to the clinic. The person enters the clinic. Most times, what the blood pressure is at that same time when you measure it first It's not what it will be when you measure it after some discussions. So there are a lot of factors that affect blood pressure, and these factors are more, for example, when you come to the clinic, and I talked about white coat hypertension. The white coat hypertension was a name given to it because it was thought that this is as a result of reaction people have to the white coat when they see doctors. There are even people who when nurses measure their blood pressure, it is lower. So some patients will come to the clinic, and when nurses measure it is lower. When they come in and the doctor measures it, is different. The understanding they will have is that the nurse didn't do it well. That may also be a factor. There are factors of the fact that the person didn't do it well. But even when all the necessary things are done properly, if you listen to the lecture, I mentioned sitting down, relaxed. You have to relax for at least about 5 minutes, and the chair you are sitting down has to be relaxed, because if not, even the tension on your muscles can elevate your blood pressure. Somebody may want to measure his blood pressure and is feeling pressed. That alone can elevate blood pressure. So there are a lot of factors that affect blood pressure measurement because it's a physiological process. And that is why we don't just take one value. Even the home blood pressure monitoring, we want you to measure a lot, and then we take average of those measurements. So I guess this should give you an idea. So it is a physiological process. It's not, the human being is not like a machine you meet in the laboratory. You set it the way you want. Even somebody's thoughts of, what am I going to see? I'm going to see a cardiologist. Maybe I'm going to die. And then he comes into the clinic, and you greet the person, you measure his blood pressure. The blood pressure may have up to 20 millimeters higher than what it is ordinarily. So these are some of the factors. We know how to control it. We also understand the fact that some of the instruments are not good enough. We must also put that into consideration. I gave you in this slide, www.stridebp.org is a place where you get the instruments, semi-automated instruments that are validated. Some of the instruments they sell in the market, our country is a bit porous. Things come into the country with very minimal standardization, and it is sold in the market and somebody buys it. Meanwhile, it is not validated. So that is also there. But even after you have done all that, there are a lot of physiological things that tend to affect blood pressure, and you try to minimize it as much as possible and take many readings. It is the average of those readings that we actually take and not just one reading. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Augustine, for that. Please, Professor Sukumba, there was a question for you, please.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. I think the participant asked, there was one that the first person that asked about orthodox and conventional, how they compare. You can't directly compare these products, the medicinal plant products, with conventional drugs, which are really molecules, more isolated molecules. The medicinal plants form a combination of, they are a combination of products, and each of them may be contributing to the activity of the observed beneficial effects. But with conventional drugs, for example, paracetamol, you are dealing with just one type of molecule. So we cannot directly compare. And the issue of dose is always a problem. People consider it as a drawback on the use of medicinal plants. But these are all, most of them are food items. They are things that are commonly used. They are really nutritional products like garlic. Garlic has a long history of use. And even the WHO accepts that where you have medicinal plants that have long history of use, we can safely rely on the information provided by the local users of such plants. Hibiscus is consumed as a normal food drink. And so the issue of being toxic or not having a standardized dosage is not of serious concern, because these have long history or history of use. And even before these products are listed by NAFDAC, NAFDAC always tries to verify the toxicity, potential toxicity of these plants by conducting toxicity studies on any medicinal plant preparation presented for registration by NAFDAC. So these that's what I want to say about that particular question. The local names are available, but I don't have all of them. Like the local name for hibiscus is in Hausa is Zobo. In Igbo is Okorozo, and in Yoruba it is Amuka. Then garlic, Hausa is Tafanua, and Igbo is Ayo. Igbo is Ayo Ishi. Then Yoruba is Ayu. So these are the local names. I don't know whether I have pronounced them properly to the understanding of the audience, but we have them in writing, so they can be easily passed on to any interested individual. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Prof, for that wonderful answer. Please, after Mr. Stephen Ido question, I will move over to the chat box for all the questions that are there. Mr. Stephen, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Ma. Thank you so much for the speakers. Really blessed by this evening. My question is actually on the herbal, what do you call it, the non-conventional. When you are using your medication, your orthodox medication, and you are also infusing the non-conventional, sometimes I get very worried because I don't know, could it be possible that you could even be going down lower than what you are having before? For example, what I'm saying is that if you are treating hypertension and this thing just jacks down to hypotension, is it not dangerous? So sometimes I get so confused. I'm afraid to know what to do about this. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Professor Kumba, please.
Yeah. Well, these things have to, the risk is there, but you have to take them, you know, in such a way that you don't you don't get an adverse response from the use of the medication. And that's why even in my conclusion, I said that their use needs to be monitored. So if you are taking hibiscus with another drug, a conventional drug, you still have to continue to monitor your blood pressure. Just like even without any medicinal plant use, even if you're on conventional drugs, you still have to continue to monitor your blood pressure. So you don't just consume these preparations and then assume that everything is okay. You still have to look for a way of determining the efficacy or the beneficial effects you are getting. And if you discover that combining any of these medicinal plant preparations with a conventional drug is producing an adverse response, it means you have to really reassess the situation and you know, reduce the use of what the particular preparation you are using. So that's my response to that.
Thank you.
Can I just also add that, I mean, as a clinician, this kind of scenario comes up every now and then. One is that it raises a lot of interest for us as clinicians and researchers, that it means we still have a lot of work to do. I was discussing with Professor Iwu this, I think yesterday, we talked about some of these agents and the need to really subject the thing to a lot of research, more research and clinical trials. So yes, it keeps opening up and keeps challenging us about what we need to do. We will continue to talk about it, and then we'll continue to work, you know, on some of these things. To do these things are very expensive, and sometimes getting research funding to really subject the medicinal products that have been found to have antihypertensive effect, it's a long and laborious process. But be that as it may, Professor Sokumba pointed out that this is also like food. I mean, if you go to a wedding and you are giving Zobo to drink, for example, are you going to look at it as drug? You are going to just look at it as a drink you are going to take after your meal. Yes, the point about, you know, continue monitoring of our blood pressure. Our vision is that every household should have a home blood pressure monitor. I have this maxim that if you must have a phone, you must have a blood pressure monitor. And this is a vision we have, and we'll continue to push for this as part of our public health approach. We talked about max hypertension. There are a lot of trials. For example, there are a lot of people who may have what we even call controlled blood pressure in the clinic, but they still have uncontrolled blood pressure at home. Is it possible that maybe this kind of people may benefit from addition of, you know, the hibiscus, that is the zobo drink, for some time? These are all questions that we need to ask ourselves. But for somebody who is hypertensive and you are taking your drugs, nothing stops you from taking these things gently. And as you take them, your blood pressure is also being monitored. We adjust antihypertensive medications. If some of our patients may be on 4 antihypertensive medications, then the person comes to the clinic, you measure the blood pressure in the clinic, it shows you the blood pressure measurement at home, you judge it, you reduce the blood pressure from 4 to 3. As you are reducing the number, you're also reducing the dose. So it's possible that you can actually combine them, but what is key is monitoring this blood pressure, not just by yourself, but with a physician who understands how these things work. And secondly, let us also open up. Some of us may be taking some of these agents, and then you hide it from the physician because you feel, oh, the physician will not want to hear that you are taking, other products. We need to discuss this. And this is how research comes up. Somebody says, oh, I'm taking so and so plant. Your blood pressure has been, 200 over 150. We are giving you the same drug, but we have discovered that it's coming down now. Which product is that? How much are you taking? We are monitoring the blood pressure. We need to subject this thing to more scientific evidence. So, summary is that I think this is food, and nothing stops you from taking it, but monitoring your blood pressure and starting with, some graduated kind of intake. What some of us do is that we take the medicinal products as if they are cure. As soon as this meeting is over, somebody will now say, if you know everywhere you have garlic, bring all of it. I'm going to take all of them this night so that this blood pressure thing will go. And then the person will now have some untoward side effects. So my advice is take, the medicinal product gently, graduate up. Don't think that these medicinal products are cure for this, hypertension. They can only help in controlling blood pressure. And as you take it and take your orthodox medication, continue to monitor your blood pressure, not alone, but with a physician who understands how best to monitor blood pressure. And also be open as to what you take and what you do. We all need to learn from, this is a major problem, a problem that affects 38% of adult Nigerians.
Can we still hear, Professor?
Yeah, can you hear me? Okay, is
now,
the
yes.
Cause the greatest hypertension is the causes the greatest burden of disease globally. So don't think that if you are hypertensive that it is just your problem. It's not your problem. It's a global problem, and we are all looking for solution to it. Nobody knows the solution. Let one native doctor somewhere don't confuse you to tell you that he has solution to hypertension. He doesn't. But if we all bring some of these things together and then subject it to some, scientific evidence, I'm sure that we are going to grow more and more, and then we will be better for it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prof. I think quickly I'll move to the questions on the chat box. Then the first question is coming from Uzo. He said, my question to the last presenter, does tomato juice reduce hypertension? He's asking if tomato juice can reduce hypertension.
I don't have a direct answer to that, but what I know about tomato juice is beneficial effects in the well-being of the postrate. But I'm not, I don't have any information, except if somebody within the audience has any information on its beneficial effects in hypertension.
Okay, thank you, Prof. I want to quickly add something also to Farida, who asked if citrus fruits aid in reducing blood pressure. So I would advise us, when Professor Sukumba, that's our second speaker, was making his presentation, he mentioned about the features like antioxidants. Any medicinal plant that has antioxidant properties and the other properties he mentioned, just like most of you have dropped your email address, the presentation will be sent to you. And then if you browse the internet and know that this particular, let's say a citrus family, a citrus fruit, maybe grape or lemon or sweet orange, if you know that it has an antioxidant properties or all the properties he has mentioned there, that means that medicinal plant has the potentials to reduce high blood pressure. I think that has answered your question to both the person asking if citrus fruits and if a tomato fruit can reduce high blood pressure. So I'm going to move on to the next question from the chat. It's coming from Mr. Emmanuel Obasi. And I think part of your question has already been answered. It has already been discussed so well. He behind the variation in blood pressure observed in masked hypertension. I think Professor Odili has really given a detailed explanation to why there is this variation. And he's asking, could it be linked to environmental effects? So Mr. Emmanuel Obasi, I think, and I hope that the detailed explanation Professor Augustine has given so far was able to answer your question. The next question is from Olatunju. Sorry if I didn't get that correctly. He started by thanking our presenters for their brilliant presentation. And he said to the second presenter, what efforts are our Nigerian pharmacists making to ensure that we have our own locally made antihypertensive tablets in either tablets or liquid form? Most of our drugs are imported from China, India, etc., and are expensive. We are very blessed in this country with natural resources. Please, Professor Kumba, please, do you have a response to that?
I don't have a direct response to that, but it's just as Professor Odili emphasized, we need to do more research, more work on these information from medical use of some of these preparations. We need to do more work. But as he also said, these things are very expensive and grants are not easy to come by. But we cannot give up. We just have to find a way of making sure that we pursue our goals by exploiting whatever is available locally for the benefit of humanity, not only Nigerians, but whatever is good for Nigerians should be good for everybody else. After all, we import things from China, we import from India, and especially a lot of these herbal preparations from China. And so we need to do more work to be able to actualize what the what is it Mr. Oladotun is asking for. The pharmacists may not, those in general practice may not be directly involved, but they can support the research efforts of the universities, of the faculties of pharmacy and the various universities. They can collaborate with researchers in those faculties to encourage them to do research in particular areas, so that the outcome of such research or such researches can be taken up by the pharmaceutical industries and further developed. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prof, for that response. I will add quickly a little contribution to that, to the question that I just read out. With that, I'm going to commend Bioresources Institute of Nigeria, Bion, for the work they are doing, because they are the one producing IHP products. And these IHP products are natural. They are 100% natural products, plant-based. Now, these are products, just like Prof mentioned earlier, one of them is BSAP, IHP BSAP T. Now, what is different? What is the difference between IHP BSAP T and going to just buy Zobo in the market? The difference is that these IHP products has been scientifically developed and also has proven results, and they also have dosage. I don't know if you're getting what, so they have dosage. So these beyond, in addition to IHP BSAP, there are other different natural products that they have, ranging from bitter leaf, from scent leaf, from gongronema, that is utazi, bitter cola, and different natural products coming from them. So I think they are one of the best in Nigeria, putting efforts to make our food, to make our vegetables, to make the plants, the nurture, the biodiversity, make use of our biodiversity to produce herbal medicine for improving human health. And yes, for improving human health. Thank you so much for that question. Then the next question is coming from Dr. Opeyemi. Please, I don't know if I got that correctly. He also started by thanking the two professors for the enlightenment, and he went ahead to ask question. And in one of the question, number one, I think number one has been giving a detailed explanation, so I'm not going to go into that one. He asks about why there is difference in reading from the same digital device, 2 or more readings. So that has been answered earlier. And he also asked in the number 2, he said, is bitter leaf not antihypertensive? And what is the common name for olive leaf? He said, 3, should I not take calcium food like bone if I'm hypertensive? Thank you very much. Please, Professor Austin or Professor Sukumba, please, who would attend this question?
Thank you very much. I think it's for Professor Sokumba, because I don't know the names of some of those, but asking whether you should take calcium from bone. I mean, I don't, unless if those Professor Sokumba, those who are researching on the natural products, but to the best of my knowledge, I don't think there is any problem with taking calcium from bone. I don't think there is any problem. What you even get from there is very minimal compared to, I mean, if you are taking calcium tablets, especially for women, who are menopausal. The other thing I just want to add in the question by somebody about what the pharmacies in Nigeria are doing. I think that question you should ask also to yourself. We should say, what are we all doing? Because it's not just the pharmacists, we are all involved in it. The government is involved. Drug production is not an easy thing. Research is not an easy thing. People are willing to conduct the research, but you need funds, you need money to conduct research. You know, you need electricity. If we don't have electricity, what kind of research? Can you store samples? We went all around the country and got blood samples from almost 4,000 people. We wanted to do more research to find out more things from people's blood samples from all around the country that can help us together as a country. We tried to start off a small biobank at the University of Abuja Teaching Hospital, and lo and behold, there was power failure, and the whole blood sample got destroyed. So these are the things, but we won't give up. We will continue to push. All of us are involved in it because it's about our health. And these things have a lot of potentials. If we have hibiscus that commonly grows here, and it has vasodilatory properties, it means that we need to do more work to find out, you know, how it will become more useful to all of us. Again, I will join in commending the Bioresource Institute for the work they are doing already, but they need to do more. They need more encouragement from government, from pharmaceutical companies, multinational pharmaceutical companies, from even companies that are not pharmaceutical companies that can come in to say, we want to solve this problem. How do we solve it? We need to put funds. And as we are putting the funds, we need to be patient. Some of this research will take years for the final result to be out. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Augustine, for that addition. Then a question from the chat bot again from Olade Ju asks, he said, is it true that Maggi intake can worsen hypertension? Professor Dili, please.
Thank you very much. Some of those things are myths. Maggi has, yes, it has some salt in it, but you are not just singling out the salt from Maggi. We've seen some people who would say, oh, they use only Maggi they don't use salt. We also moved around the country. We did a salt survey in the country, and we discovered that the salt consumption in the country is really not that much compared to salt consumption in places like Japan, even in Europe and America. In fact, the salt consumption in Africa is one of the lowest. So if you want to take Maggi, please take Maggi, and they use the normal quantity. Don't say, oh, it's only, I don't need to take salt. I must use Maggi to do my salt, or to now say that anybody who takes Maggi, has hypertension. We are looking at the molecules in Maggi, and the salt in that thing does not really, add much. We don't really consume. I know that a lot of people talk so much about salt, but what we consume is not even much generally compared to people who really consume salt. When we did our salt survey, we found out that the salt consumption in Nigeria averagely is almost like 1/5 what is consumed in Europe and America. So I don't usually want to discuss this salt thing as far as public health is concerned. Please, if you want to take Maggi, take Maggi. But don't think that Maggi is a treatment for hypertension, and also don't think that 1 cube of Maggi or 2 cubes you add in your soup is the cause of hypertension. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Dili. Please, quickly, quickly, just in a statement, one statement, a question from the same person that asked about Maggie said, can hypertension be reversed, sir? Please, just in one statement. We don't have much time.
Okay.
Please, Professor Odili.
Okay, essential hypertension, which is about 95% of hypertensive cases, can really not be reversed. You can only manage it. But there are 5% of hypertensive cases that the cause is known. If you take care of that cause, then you reverse the hypertension. Thank you.
Thank you so much. A question from Dr. Omo. Please, this question, you directed it to Professor Odili. Yes, he has given a detailed answer about discrepancies between BP recordings, and I think he has done justice to this question. Because of that, I'm going to move to the next question. Now, this one is coming from someone without a name. He said, my question, and I think Professor Odili, this question is for you. He said, a continuous reading of blood pressure at 140/90 for a long time, is it high blood pressure that needs one to be on drugs? Prof, please. Professor Odili.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, very well.
Blood pressure, equal to 140/90 continuously should be on antihypertensive medication. But there are so many other things that we look at before we talk about antihypertensive medication. But if somebody's blood pressure has persistently been 140/90, and the more so if that person has any other additional cardiovascular risk, it's advisable that the person should be on treatment. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Odili, for the all the quick response to the question being asked. And I also want to appreciate the person that puts put message on the chat box. Thank you for the additional enlightenments on Maggie and the effects of monosodium glutamate. Thank you so much. I don't know if there is any other. I'm just going to give opportunity to just one person to probably. Please, would you want to add a little contributions to this discussion?
Not really, just to appreciate the presenters and to thank them for a very informative and rich contribution. We're really very grateful. In terms of what have been suggested about natural medicine, I think it's work in progress. There's so much work being done. And just like Professor Odili said, when we had discussion yesterday, I realized that there is a gap, namely that the doctors really don't know what we are doing. And there's so much work done so far. Nigeria has a Nigerian Herbal Pharmacopoeia issued by the Ministry of Health. And some of these products have clearly defined mode of action and then dosages. The African Union has a standardization body, and some of these plants have been standardized for global trade. And the WHO has a pharmacopoeia, which has also, is not called pharmacopoeia, but then has these are medicinal plants. So it would be very good if we can have this kind of a discussion from time to time so that people will know what the other person is doing. For example, 2-3 years ago, with one Dr. Adodo, Anselm Adodo, a Catholic priest, we did a joint book together called Healing Plants of Nigeria. We devoted a whole chapter 8, I think it was, on Nigerian plants that are used as hypertensives. And the issue of Zobo, which Prof mentioned, has been so well done that they even know what quantity of Zobo that will be equivalent to a normal ACE inhibitor. And there are also different modes of action. They don't have to work the same way the modern medicine work. Just like Prof said, those are single entity compounds. But what we are dealing with now in plant-based product, what we call network pharmacology, where different compounds work in synergy to give a pharmacodynamic effect. And that will really be something that will really be able to be studied. I'm just urging us all to be very open, just like Professor Audrey said, and experiment. And some of them are not as worse as drug-food interactions. The food we eat also interact with drugs. So I think it's something that is so validly stated now, like tomatoes, just question somebody asked, tomatoes and Zobo and so on can also be used as a supplement to whatever drug that you're using without any known side effect. Tomato juice, Zobo, and then dawa that is not now used here for soup making can actually be used and without any known side effect. But there are something called plant botanical drugs. Those are totally different. There are drugs that are from plants. Those are standardized, classified like any normal medicine. The only difference that they are from plants. We're not talking about those ones, we're talking only about supplements. So people should feel free to explore what is in their kitchen, in their backyard, and be able to take them as supplements. Once again, I just want to thank all the presenters for a wonderful job. I'm so enlightened by just listening to the presentations. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Professor Iwu, for that great contribution and addition. I want to especially, because if I allow us, today's edition of this health education has been so interactive, and that goes a long way to show that our participants were very attentive when the presenters were giving the presentations, and also that our presenters, the two profs that gave us a presentation today, did justice, and they gave a well-detailed presentation which the participants understood very well. So I'm going to, we're going to be wrapping it up here. And I once again, I want to appreciate IHP, Interseed Health Products, for always bringing this health education to us. And we hope that next month, we look forward to attending the next month on. And I also want to invite us all here, all of us that are here, to be part of next month and to look forward to next month's edition. You can see how interactive, and you can see that there are so many things to learn from this healthy living counselor health education. Thank you so much for joining us, and do have a wonderful evening.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
God bless you.
Bye.
God bless.
Thank you for a well-doctor presentation.
Thank you. Oh.
Well.